After his last film underperformed, Stanley Kubrick decided to find a source for his next film. And he eventually found a book from horror author Stephen King. And he would turn that book into one of the most iconic, memorable, and most terrifying films, and one of the most terrifying films ever put to screen. That being The Shining. I mean, what else is there to say about The Shining? I'll be honest, it was kind of hard to be surprised most of the time because, I mean, I knew a lot about it. I knew the Here's Johnny. I knew about the July 4th ending. I knew about all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. But even though I knew all that, that still didn't stop me from enjoying this movie. The Shining is a masterclass of insanity. Things don't make sense. I like that. I like that Kubrick does that. The version I watched of The Shining is the US extended version, and this version that's shown in the original camera negative, as Stanley Kubrick wanted. So I got to see the full picture, and I hope to do that with some of his other films, like Eyes Wide Shut. Jack Nicholson just nails it as Jack Torrance. You can just tell he was both frustrated and having fun on set. With some of the moments that feel like they were improv. And I love how the insanity you see him in the film also parallels the insanity he was a bit of the insanity he was feeling on set. Because The Shining had to go through had a lot of on-set rewrites, and Nicholson would only read the lines minutes before they were filmed, and it got to a point where he just didn't read them because he knew they'd change again. Kind of similar to another film. Except this one actually turned out amazing. But yeah, Jack Nicholson just does a great job. Whenever he's frustrated, whenever he's kind of I just love his performance, and it's just there's a reason that this is considered one of the most terrifying performances. Shelley Duvall as Wendy is also just so great. I can't believe she got a Razzie for Worst Actress. She was not terrible in this film. She gave off a genuine, terrifying, memorable performance. And I think there's a good reason for that. I think that, I don't know if it's good, but there is a reason for why it feels so genuine. As a lot of people know, Kubrick tortured and mentally abused Shelley Duvall on set. Just ignoring her, or just ignoring her and just yelling at her or something. I know that's in a documentary Vivian Kubrick did, but I haven't watched that. It got so bad, she was getting sick, and she was starting to lose some of her hair. Some of that I actually saw in the film. She looked pale in several moments, and I was like, that's the effect of Kubrick. I was able to just see it. And like and the moment, like with the iconic "Here's Johnny" moment, that was all genuine for Duvall. And man, did that moment feel genuine. Danny Lloyd and Scathman Crothers were also just great. Yeah, the whole cast just nails it with their haunting qualities, memorable deliveries, and this always happens to me, but it's hard to describe, but their performances are great. The filmmaking is also a big standout. This is one of the first films to utilize the Steadicam, and the Steadicam shots look fantastic. Like with Danny riding his bike on the hotel, the fantastic sound designing when he goes on the carpet, off the carpet, on the carpet, off the carpet. And like the typical Kubrick glare, and some brilliantly shot long takes, like when Wendy and Jack are fighting upstairs, the take of like the party that happens. Brilliant production design all around, with locations like the hotel, the maze, the red and white bathroom, and room 237. Now, there were some things that did surprise me along the way. One of those was like, well, I can't say it, but it's in the bathroom scene. And I watched this with one of my friends. He told me that was one of the reasons that got rated R, along with the woman in the bathroom and all the blood and gore. But that scene in the bathroom, that kind of caught me off guard. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was in there. What else is there to talk about? Oh yeah, like the kind of insanity that Jack feels throughout the story. It's like it's really haunting to watch. Like his madness when Wendy disrupts his work. When he is like talking to the butler in the bathroom, and whenever he's talking to someone, like whenever he's locked in that room. Like Jack's madness is just, or his descent into madness is just so interesting to watch. There was also just one moment that had me and my friend laugh, and that was, alright, so Stanley Kubrick didn't like Stephen King nor his writing, and so he jabbed back at him and had a red Volkswagen crushed by a truck. And we were just laughing for a bit because it was funny. I think that was one of the few funny things that happened in The Shining. And I'm not going to go into it, but I also know there were like multiple endings that happened. But and it did happen after the film came out, which is interesting. I never heard of anything like that done before. So the film came out in 1980, produced on $19 million. It made $44 million domestically, and has since become a masterpiece in cinema history. It's been rightly, I think it's definitely deserved. Like, people didn't like it initially, but I'm really glad people were able to warm up to it over time. Kubrick films tend to stick with you. Steven Spielberg was right when he talked about Kubrick and his films. I'm ready to see more from this insane madman.